This is another iRaw podcast.
Welcome to Wildly Unplug, sharing stories of nature, conservation, and creativity. Discover what develops when you unplug and step outdoors. Welcome, adventurers, to Wildly Unplug, where we break free from the chaos and reconnect with nature and ourselves. I am your guide, Lauren, and today we're focusing on something a little bit different. If you're a creator, coach, artist, author, or anyone who's ever thought, I'd love to be on a podcast, well, you're in luck, because that is exactly what we're talking about in today's episode. We're going to talk about how to be a great podcast guest and why it matters, and why it's a little bit more than just showing up and talking about yourself. And I've been on both sides of the mic as a guest and a host. And let me tell you, not all guests are created equal, and that's okay. It's something we learn. So today I want to share a few things that make a guest memorable in the best ways. So how can you even be a guest in the first place? There are tons of groups on Facebook. They're all looking for guests. There are hundreds and thousands of podcasts out there. So stick with what interests you, what you have some expertise in, and go from there. There's even podcastguests.com, and you can search through their library. There are free versions. There's also some pay versions. Or you can do a more old school approach and reach out to your favorite podcasts with an email like this. Hi, insert your host name. I'm, insert your name. I recently listened to your episode on, insert the topic, and I especially appreciated, talk a little bit about what you liked about their podcasts. Us podcasters do love to hear that. And then say something like, I specialize in, insert your area of expertise. I believe your audience would find value in a conversation about, and then propose your topic or angle. I have previously shared insights on and mentioned a couple relevant platforms or expertise, or maybe a book you've written or speeches you've done in person. And I'm confident we could have an engaging discussion that resonates with your listeners. If you're open to it, I'd love to collaborate on an episode. I can provide a few topics or tailor the conversation to fit your show's theme. Looking forward to the possibility of connecting. Best regards, insert your name and how they can get a hold of you. Maybe even a website link so they can check you out a little bit before they respond back. I'm really good about responding back. Sometimes it's hit or miss with emails. You might end up in somebody's spam box. Sometimes I've reached out to potential people that I want to have as guests on my show, or where I want to be on their show, and I will do Instagram. And that's usually a pretty good way of messaging too. And you can use the same email format in the direct message. Some podcasts require a payment. Some require that you fill out an application. It all depends on the podcast, and the higher visibility they have, the greater chance that they have that you're going to have to pay some money, or if they have a big production team, because all that costs money for all, having a bunch of people to run the show. So it's the day of the interview. What should you do? You want to make sure that you research the host and the show. I can't stress this enough. Listen to an episode or two. Get a feel for the tone. Is it casual, conversational? Do they like their guests to be deep and vulnerable? Do they like things to be light and educational, or maybe funny? Get to know the vibe so you can show up in a way that fits the space. And then it's a gift to both the host and the audience. Make sure you're clear on the logistics. If they haven't sent you any information, you can ask, how long will the episode be? Do you have a link where I can log in? A lot of them use Zoom, and that makes it nice and easy. Will it be audio or video? I've had guests that have asked me not to use the video because they weren't prepared for it. And that was my bad for not letting them know. And I made sure to honor that and didn't show the video. They want to make sure that maybe they're wearing a logo or they have their hair a certain way. It's totally understandable. Make sure to ask, are there any topics that you should avoid or maybe focus on? And then ask them how the show will end. I have had podcasters just sign off on me. They're like, all right, thank you. And then they click off. Or will there be a little bit of chit chat after? Make sure you know how the show will end. Otherwise, it could get kind of awkward on how you're going to wrap up. Make sure you also have prepared how guests can find you. And also, it's nice to have some sort of offer, maybe for show listeners to the podcast for the next month, or whatever's comfortable for you, offer 20% off a service, or some sort of deliverable, or maybe you have a one-sheeter with a bunch of information on the topic, and that could be a good way for you to also get email lists. Make sure to prep your tech. Please, please, please find a quiet place. If you have a microphone, use it. If not, even earbuds with a built-in mic are better than just your computer mic. Close the windows, silence your phones, let your family know you're recording. If you have pets, put them in a different room. Those little things, they make a huge difference. And finally, you can send a short, polished bio and a headshot to your podcast hosts. Bonus points if you've got 3 to 5 potential talking points that align with the show's theme. And that way the show host isn't scrambling to introduce you or to make you look like the rock star that you are. In the moment as you are recording, this is how you can show up during the interview. My golden rule is to be real, not rehearsed. Yes, have some talking points maybe available on your computer screen, not an entire script. It's going to totally come off that you are reading something. So you don't want to sound over practiced. You'll lose your magic. You'll even lose some of that passion that excites you. So think of some stories that you have. You can have a couple of those in your back pocket that you can be comfortable talking about. You want to be clear but conversational. A great guest is a storyteller, not a lecturer. You want to stay focused and don't be afraid to let some emotion or humor show up. Talk to the host like you're chatting over coffee. If you forget what you're saying, it's okay. Breathe, laugh it off. You're human, and that's how people can connect with you and know that you're real. Also, going back to our previous segment before you hit record, that's another thing that you can ask the podcast host while I'm thinking about it. Are they going to be editing the show afterwards? Because if you do have a brain fart or something in the middle of the show, maybe they can edit that out. If not, again, don't worry about it. You're human. Keep your answers tight. So try not to ramble. Think about like a minute to 90-second answer. Pause, let the host jump in and respond to guide the next part. If they are still just kind of shaking their head and listening, waiting for maybe a good 5 to 7 second pause, maybe continue on with what your thought is, but try and make it a conversation, not a monologue. A lot of podcast guests prepare questions for the guest, and just in case something that you said hasn't sparked another question, they'll have another question ready to go. You can even ask the host a question or two related to the topic. When I've asked the podcast hosts questions, they seem a little bit caught off guard and a little bit surprised. They even seem to light up that they get to talk about themselves for a little bit on their show. It's not something that podcast hosts get to do very often. You also want to talk to the audience too, not just the host. So you're having a conversation. Imagine somebody is listening as they're walking their dog or washing the dishes. Speak to them in a way that makes them feel seen too. Do you want to talk about things that you're selling? Yes, of course. That's the whole reason a lot of people are doing this. They want to sell their book, their course, their retreat, or some sort of offering they have, but don't make it an infomercial. The most important thing is that you are sharing your heart and your mission. People want to connect with you. So they will follow you when they feel connected to you, not if they think that they're constantly being sold something. How do you shine in your expertise and confidence? Well, let's talk about something a lot of people wonder but rarely say out loud. How do I talk about what I know without sounding braggy? And this is like something I struggle with. I struggle in talking about myself, but here's the truth. Your voice needs to be heard. If you're passionate about a topic like wildlife photography or poetry, branding, homeschooling, painting mushrooms on postcards, you don't need to prove your worth. Share whatever lights you up. And we all have that imposter syndrome that creeps in like, oh, there's somebody better out there at it. Well, they're not doing it exactly the way that you're doing it. So let your light shine. Lead with curiosity, not credentials. Like I've been exploring this for years. Lands better off than rattling, different degrees. Speak with expertise. Start with stories like I have found this, or in my work I've noticed, and it invites trust without arrogance. Practice out loud. Talk to a mirror or a friend about what you do and why you do it, and get comfortable in your own voice. You can even do this by sharing your story in small little segments on social media, and that's a great way to help you practice. Let go of perfectionism. I mean, if you've listened this far, you know that I have not been perfect by far. You don't need to be the top expert in the world. You just need to offer something real, helpful, and you. You don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. Speak clearly, speak kindly, and trust that the right people will lean in. So when the interview is over, you hang up. Now what? Go ahead and send a little quick email or DM to the host. Let them know you appreciated the space that they held. And if you really want to stand out, mention something specific that you enjoyed. Like, I enjoyed when we talked about this, or hey, that was really funny. When the episode airs, make sure to share it on all your platforms. Tag the host, link the episode, tell your audience why they should listen in. Not just a, hey, I was on a podcast, but we had a deep conversation about burnout and healing, and I think it might resonate with you. You can share the episode on your website. You can do it in your email list, but make sure you are sharing it. It helps the podcast out a lot, and it'll help you out too. It's not about exposure. It's about connection. The best guests lift up the whole experience. That energy comes through and it opens doors for future collaborations. Now we're going to wrap up with one of my favorite things, following the gentle nudge to reconnect with the wild and the creative side. Since a lot of my shows lately have been more on the technical side, I wanted to leave you something tangible so you can reconnect yourself with your wild side this week. If you've been listening and wondering, how can I reconnect with nature? Here is a simple challenge. Pick one thing in nature to notice every day this week. It could be the shape of the tree's shadow, a bird call in the morning, or the way that the wind moves in the grass. Write it down, sketch it. Even a single word in a journal counts. What matters here is that you paused, you slowed down, and you noticed nature. Yesterday, I had a lot of work to do inside. I didn't get a lot of time outside. And when I was letting my dogs out last night, I was hearing something and I tuned in, listened a little bit closer, and I could hear frogs off in the distance. So I just paused and closed my eyes and listened to the frogs. And that was my nature highlight of yesterday. But that few moments that I got to reconnect really helped to recharge my battery. And what about your creativity? We all have a creative side. I don't care if you're an artist or not. Have you put together a peanut butter sandwich before, or a turkey sandwich? I don't know. What if you've prepared food for yourself before? You've created something out of nothing before. So we are all creatives. Try a 10-minute creative burst. Set a timer, doodle, paint with coffee, rearrange your bookshelf in rainbow color order or like an art gallery. Make something without judgment. Just have fun. Let your inner artist and your inner wild child out. Let them play. They're just waiting for the invitation. Let me know how it goes. And if you're looking for more creative ways to connect with nature, check out my book, Wildly Unplug, A Creative Guide to Reconnect with Nature, now available on Amazon. Some final thoughts. Being a guest on someone's podcast is an honor. It's their platform, their audience, their energy. So show up with curiosity, kindness, and clarity. For a quick recap, make sure to prepare for the show. Show up with some stories and a service in mind. Be present and kind during the chat, and follow up with gratitude and generosity. I have had the privilege of interviewing some amazing guests on Wildly Unplug, and I can tell you this, the ones who leave a lasting impression aren't the ones with the fanciest credentials. They're the ones that show up with heart. Have you been a guest before? What helped you feel confident? Or what did you wish you would have known? I'd love to hear your stories. You can tag me on Instagram at Wild Development Studio, or email me at wilddevelopmentsstudio@gmail.com. And if you know someone who's ready to be interviewed, share this episode with them. Until next time, unplug, get outside, and see what develops. Wildly Unplugged podcast is a production of Wild Development Studio. The views, opinions, and statements expressed by individuals during Wild Development Studio's productions do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Wild Development Studio or its affiliates. Participation in any activities, expeditions, or adventures discussed or promoted during our content may involve inherent risks. It is strongly advised that individuals conduct thorough research, seek professional guidance, and take all necessary precautions before engaging in such activities or venturing into wilderness areas. Wild Development Studio, its representatives, or employees shall not be held responsible for any injury, loss, damage, accident, or unforeseen incident that may occur as a result of participating in activities inspired by or discussed in our content. By choosing to engage with our content or act upon any information provided, individuals do so at their own risk and discretion.
For more great iRaw podcasts, visit irawpod.com. That's IROARPOD.com.